My sister-in-law always acted like she adored my son, until the day I found out she secretly took him for a DNA test. At first, I thought she was doubting me, but no, the truth she uncovered was far worse than any accusation. Ever since I gave birth to baby Nathan, my sister-in-law Amanda seemed like a completely different person. Before that, she'd always been politely distant, the type who sends pre-printed birthday cards but never picks up the phone. But once Nathan arrived, she started visiting more often, bringing fresh bread, flowers, and compliments that honestly surprised me. "He really looks like our side of the family," she said once, especially the eyes. I remember thinking, maybe she's finally letting me in. Even my mother-in-law was stunned. "Amanda's never been patient with kids," she told me. She didn't even hold her own niece for more than 5 minutes. One autumn afternoon, golden sunlight poured through our kitchen window, dusting Nathan's hair like sifted flour. Amanda sat on the sofa, holding him, her finger tapping gently to the rhythm of an old Fleetwood Mac song. Nathan was giggling, a pure, ringing laugh that made me grab my phone to record the moment. In the video, Amanda looked into the camera, smiled, then turned to me and said, "He's starting to look more and more like..." She paused. I laughed and said, "Like my husband?" But Amanda just tilted her head, like she knew something she wasn't ready to say out loud. I didn't think much of it. When you're a new mom running on 3 hours of sleep, you tend to ignore things you don't understand, as long as your baby's still smiling. I had no idea Amanda had started to suspect something, and I definitely didn't know that the very moment I hit record was also the moment she decided to uncover a truth only she had begun to doubt. I don't know when Amanda had the DNA test done. I don't know how she got a sample of Nathan's hair, but I remember the exact moment of silence between us cracked. It wasn't because of anything she said, it was the way she looked. Half a second too long. That day, we were celebrating my father-in-law's 60th birthday. The whole family gathered at their hillside estate. Buffet tables full of food, kids running wild in the backyard. Amanda stood beside me, holding a glass of Prosecco, watching Nathan slide down the playground. "He's fast," she said, and sharp-eyed. I laughed, still unsuspecting. Must be the family genes. But when I turned to her, she wasn't smiling, just nodded, eyes still locked on Nathan. That night, I saw her phone left on the dining table. The screen lit up with a notification. "Your genetic relationship results are ready," from a private DNA clinic. I froze, holding the phone like it was glowing. My brain looped one question. "DNA test on who?" I set it back down. Didn't unlock it. Didn't ask. But my heart had already started running ahead of reason. 2 days later, Amanda came to my house. Unannounced. No flowers. No bread. Just a thin folder in her hand. And tired heels that had clearly walked too long. She didn't sit. Just stood in the middle of the living room, as if waiting for her name to be called. "You got a minute?" she asked, her voice smaller than usual. I nodded. She opened the folder, pulled out 2 stamped, signed documents, and placed them gently on the table. "You need to read this." I read. My eyes stopped on the first bolded line. "No paternal relationship detected between subject A and subject B." I read it again, then followed the footnote. Subject A, John Whitmore, alleged father. Subject B, Nathan Whitmore, child. It wasn't me they doubted. It was John, my husband. I looked up, my mouth dry. Amanda was still watching me, not with anger, but with the cold, quiet sadness of someone who just saw something they could never unsee. She said, "Did you ever know John had a car accident at 17? Doctors told him he might not be able to have kids. Mom said it wasn't worth bringing up, but I remembered." I sat in silence, not because I had anything to hide, but because I hadn't known either. And the first name that surfaced in my mind wasn't the OBGYN or hospital records, but Tom, John's best friend, the one who helped me move furniture. when John was away on a work trip in Texas. I don't know what I'll have to face after this, but I do know one thing. This truth didn't come from me, but it's going to fall on me first. I didn't sleep that night, didn't cry, didn't scream. I just sat at the edge of the bed, watching Nathan sleep peacefully, his tiny hand curled around a Red Fox plushie. One question kept circling in my mind. If not John, then who? But the harder, more painful question was, does John already know? The next morning, I made coffee like I always do. John came downstairs in his usual big meeting outfit, white shirt, pale blue tie. He kissed me on the cheek, like nothing had happened. I handed him the coffee. My hands trembled slightly, but I kept them steady. Amanda came by yesterday, I said. He paused, exactly 1 second, then took a sip. Oh, what for? I looked at him. For a long time, she did a DNA test. John set the mug down. No questions, no denial, no shock, just a tired exhale, like the thing he'd been avoiding, had finally caught up. I know, he said. His voice didn't shake. No guilt, no grief. My next question came without thought. Since when? He looked at me. His eyes were hollow. When Nathan turned 1, you were asleep one night, and I saw his pediatric records. His blood type didn't match. I got tested. The results were clear. My heart fell silent. A year, he'd known for an entire year. And still, he'd thrown birthday parties, posed for family photos, grilled at weekend BBQs. Like nothing was broken. Why didn't you say anything? I asked for the first time. I felt like I didn't know the man I married. He didn't look at me, just said, because if I told you, I'd lose you. And if I lost you, people would find out. And if people found out, my mother would cut me out of the inheritance. I stood frozen, not because of the words lose you, but because of the words. My mother would cut me out of the inheritance. That was his reason. Not love for me, not love for Nathan, but fear of losing money, of being cast out by a family. He never had the courage to leave. I stepped back, then again, until my back hit the wall. Cold, hard, undeniably real, just like the truth that had just slapped me in the face. I was never chosen, only kept, like a placeholder, a temporary pawn, in his family's game of legacy. Amanda came back the next afternoon. No warning, no dress, no makeup. Her face didn't look angry, just tired, like she'd spent all night gathering the courage to show up. John was sitting on the chair, reading the paper, his polished leather shoes neatly placed beside his feet. When he saw Amanda, he didn't stand, didn't greet her, didn't even pretend. He just said, dry as dust, "You have no right." Amanda walked straight into the room and threw a stack of papers onto the table. Not test results, but emails from the family's lawyer. In them, a section where John had secretly requested to update his personal will, removing me from any claim to his assets, in case of legal risk resulting from an illegitimate child. I stared at the words, like my head was being held underwater. John froze just for a breath, then stood, adjusting his cufflinks, like he was stepping into a courtroom. "I did protect us both," he said, not looking at either of us. "If people find out Nathan's not my son, everything will collapse. My mother will." "What?" Amanda cut in. "Cut you off from inheritance? You've lived your whole life chasing that damn money. You'd rather raise someone else's child than lose your seat at your mother's table." John turned to me and, for the first time, looked genuinely lost. "I didn't know what to do," he said. "You don't remember? Back then, you were always alone. I was traveling nonstop, and you were distant. If something happened, if you slipped, I understand. But I chose to forgive you. You forgave me?" I laughed, dry, bitter. "Or did you just keep me? To keep your place in your mother's game of appearances?" Nathan came down the stairs just then, still half asleep, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy, who's yelling?" he asked. I walked over to him, knelt down, and wrapped him in my arms. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. There was just silence, like someone had drained the sound from the world. I looked at Amanda, then John. "I'm leaving," I said. "I don't need money. I don't need the house. I just need my son to grow up in a home that isn't built on secrets and fear." John didn't stop me, didn't plead, didn't apologize. He just sat back down, his face pale, his hands clenched, like someone who just lost something priceless, and didn't realize it until it was gone. I packed in silence. Amanda carried Nathan to the car. Just before I got in, she turned to me and whispered, "You're not alone." I didn't answer, just nodded. Then I looked back at the house. Still perfect, still polished, like a magazine cover. But inside, it was hollow, and I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Not to John, not to his family, not to anyone. We rented a small apartment near the park. No backyard, nothing fancy, but it was quiet. I put up dinosaur stickers in Nathan's room, assembled a bunk bed myself, just to give him the feeling that life was still moving forward, only now in a better direction. Every morning, I walked him to preschool, then sat in the cafe downstairs, typing emails, listening to strangers' conversations, and letting their words soften the silence in my heart. John never called, never texted. Amanda did once in a while. She'd update me. My mother-in-law had been hospitalized with high blood pressure. The lawyer was trying to untangle the will. Some relatives were whispering things like, maybe they shouldn't have forced that marriage in the first place. I read the messages, but never replied, not out of anger, but because I was no longer the one who needed explanations. Nathan asked about his dad. Not often. Just once, he asked, "Is Daddy sad because he doesn't see me?" I didn't know the perfect answer, so I said, "Daddy might be very sad, but Mommy is here, and you are wonderful. That's enough." He nodded, then picked up his orange crayon and kept coloring his favorite dinosaur, the one he named Storm Dragon. Some nights, I still thought of John, not out of longing, but because I once loved him, and once believed that love would be the foundation for a lifetime. Now I know love can't hold a house together if the people inside don't have the decency to stay standing when the foundation cracks. Amanda visited a few times. She didn't say much. We sat on the floor, ate pizza, watched Nathan draw. One night, she handed me a small envelope. Inside was a check. I tried to give it back, but she said, "It's not from John. It's from me. You shouldn't have to start over alone." I tucked it into a drawer, never used it, but I kept it because it came from someone who knew how to apologize with action. A year later, I changed jobs, moved Nathan to a new city. No one there knew I was once Mrs. John Whitmore. No one knew about the will, the DNA test, or the silence that swallowed a marriage whole. And I didn't need them to know. I love my son. I worked with my hands, with no burden to play the good wife. And for the first time, I felt like myself. Some truths, when brought into the light, can tear a family apart. But from those pieces, if you gather them carefully, you can build something new. A foundation without secrets, without fear, where no one is kept, just to protect someone else's lie. And that's what I chose. Not to live in a house with pretty walls and cold hearts. I chose to rebuild from rubble. And this time, I laid the very first brick. Thank you for taking the time to stay with this story until the very end. If you've ever been in a situation like this, betrayed by someone close, or faced a truth that changed everything, don't hesitate to share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone out there needs to hear. If this video spoke to you, please support the channel by clicking like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell. Every bit of support helps me keep telling stories that are raw, honest, and deeply human. I'll see you in the next video.